I'll just invite Councillor Jackson to lead prayers.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. Let us pray. Oh God, our Father, we thank you for the privilege we have of serving the people of Blackpool. And we pray that at this very special meeting tonight, as we consider the needs of our residents and of those who visit the town, that everything we do may be in keeping with your plans. We pray for those who have gone through times of trouble in the recent weeks through illness, and we ask your blessing upon them. And especially this evening, we think of the people of Ukraine and the problems that they are facing at this time. And we do pray, O Lord, that we may see peace come to these people as they struggle day in, day out with the situation they are in. It's hard to understand, it's hard to contemplate just what these people are going through. Millions leaving their own country to find safety, but not sure what lies ahead. So Lord, we pray for that country, we pray for the leaders there, we pray for those who are fighting for peace. And oh Lord, we do pray that we may see that peace come. And we offer this prayer in Jesus' name.
Amen.
And oh, look, we share together, if we are able, in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. Okay. Welcome to the meeting this evening, all councillors, officers and public and press who may be viewing this online through the link on the council's website. We'll just move on to our preliminaries. I'd like to remind councillors that if you just check that you're seated in the seats allocated to them as the seating plan for voting purposes, because there will be a number of recorded votes, so we must make sure that you're seated in the right position. Can I also remind councillors to turn their microphones on whilst speaking and to turn them off again once finished. Otherwise, you will not be heard on the broadcast. The red light for timing, there is a set time for councillors to speak. The red light isn't working tonight, unfortunately, so please look out for an interjection or a red card. Yeah. So we can move on through the agenda. Any apologies for absence that official apologies that we're not aware of? Is there any councillors? No? Thank you. We'll move on to item 1, declarations of interest. Councillors need to declare their interest in items on the agenda. Can I remind you that you should declare the type of interest you have, the agenda item and reference in question, and the reason why you have an interest. If you raise your hands, Councillor Kane.
Thank you, Lady Mayor. I've got a prejudicial interest on item 7, being the chairman of Blackpool Operating Company and a non-executive director.
Okay, Councillor Critchley. Thank you. Councillor O'Hara.
Personal interest in some work for local transport.
Thank you. Councillor Hutton.
Fair prejudicial interest in agenda item 7 as on
Councillor Kirkland.
The prejudicial interest on item 7 as a non-exec director of Envico.
Okay. Let's just double check here. Councillor... Ooh, I've lost it. Councillor Galley.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Yes, I'd like to declare a personal interest as a non-executive director of Blackpool Transport, and that concerns agenda item 7 and the discussion in Appendix 2.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Mayor, personal interest as a member of the Combined Fire Authority.
Councillor Matthews.
Personal interest, item 7, BTS, board member.
Thank you. Councillor Walsh.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Can I declare a prejudicial interest for a non-executive director of Sandcastle and Blackpool Operating Company?
Thank you. Councillor Stansfield.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I've got a prejudicial interest in item 7 as a non-executive director of Blackpool Waste Services.
Thank you. Councillor Benson. Councillor Hugo.
Thank you, Lady Mayor, Deputy Mayor. I have a personal interest in item 7 as a member of the Combined Fire Authority.
Thank you. Councillor Tony Williams.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Same item, item 7. I'm a member of the Combined Fire Authority.
Thank you. And if I can declare an interest in item 7, personal interest in item 7 as a council-appointed non-executive director of Blackpool Transport Services.
Lady Deputy Mayor, if I could just clarify, I think there were 2 councils that didn't specify which item, but as I understand, they were all for item 7. Just to clarify, for all those interests declared, they were for item 7.
Thank you. We can move on now to the minutes, to approving the minutes of the meetings held on the 8th and 9th of February. Councillors to agree the minutes of the informal council meeting held on the 8th of February 2022 as a true and correct record. Agreed? Agreed. If we can, is there anyone who disagrees? Okay. Councillors to agree the minutes of the formal council meeting held on the 9th of February 2022 as a true and correct record. Agreed? Agreed. Okay. If we move on to item 3, the capital strategy. Councillor Lynn Williams to move the recommendations of the executive.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Could I I'm happy to move to approve the recommendation of the capital strategy incorporating the property investment strategy 22-23. Thank you.
And seconded.
Happy to second, Madam Deputy Mayor, and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Williams? Is she going to speak? Any other councillors to speak? None recorded. Councillor Williams? No? Okay. So, if council to vote on the motion. All those in favour? Just keep your hands raised so we can see them. Okay. Those against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 4, the capital programme 2022 to 23 to 2024-25, pages 13 to 22 of the document. Councillor Lynn Williams to move the recommendations of the executive.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor, and happy to move the recommendation of the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to second, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other councillors to speak? Councillor Galley.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. I got distracted slightly, so just want to check, this is agenda item 4, isn't it? Yes. It is, brilliant, excellent. Otherwise, I didn't want to be making the speech in the right item. Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. I just obviously didn't want to turn this into an audit meeting, as much as I love audit meetings, but I did think this item is sufficiently significant to draw members' attention to page 19 and 6.24 about the management of the risk assessments, about the capital programme. Why is that significant? It is referenced just above that in 6.23. This potentially outside our revenue budget is one of our biggest risk areas, and it's really important that all members in the executive and all councillors constantly challenge processes, figures, methodologies in this particular area, because of the numbers that we're talking, and the risks rightly explain it in terms of supply chain issues, recruitment issues. This could potentially see some percentage increases that expose us to greater risk increases in terms of the budgets. And when we're talking of these sorts of figures, that has a huge consequence. And we've seen similar things play out in other councils. My fear is we're going to see, for all the reasons we're aware of, an increased level of challenge in those figures. So my warning or my advice or my caution to the executive members is constantly challenge, especially in terms of recruitment. Do we have the right skill base to manage some of those contracts? Are we asking the right questions of the suppliers? Are they prioritising Blackpool over projects elsewhere? All of those sorts of things. So it was really just a word of caution. The risks do cover that, but it's certainly just to draw attention to it, Lady Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Galley. Any other councillors to speak? Councillor Williams, you're right to reply.
Just to add that, I understand and appreciate the concern, and obviously I know we'll come on to the audit a bit later on, but to thank you for the work that you do, and we appreciate that, that working together, the executive and through the audit committee, it is really important to manage this risk and understand. So yes, I agree, Paul. Thank you.
So we'll take a show of hands for council to vote on the motion. All those in favour? Okay. Those against?
Carried, Lady Deputy Mayor.
Carried. Thank you. If we can move on to agenda item 5, Treasury Management Strategy 2022 to 23. So looking in the document at page 23 to 30. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor, and yes, happy to move the recommendations detailed within the report. Thank you.
Councillor.
Happy to second and reserve the right to speak.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak on this item? Councillor Mitchell. Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Any other councillors to speak? Councillor Williams, you're right to reply.
Thank you. Yes, it is. It has been noted, and the investment are pretty much and rates are pretty locked in for this year. But yes, in 23-24, in keeping with what Councillor Galley has said, but we have the strategy, and we are aware, and obviously will appreciate and understand the risk that's involved in that. But for this budget, no. But obviously 23-24, we will obviously monitor that and keep a very close check on it.
Okay, so we'll move to vote on the motion. By show of hands. All those in favour? Okay. All those against? That's carried. Thank you. We move on to item 6, the council plan. Pages 31 to 34 of your document. Okay, Councillor Williams.
Thank you. I'm obviously happy to move, Lady Deputy Mayor, the recommendation contained within the report. I would just like firstly to, I'm not quite sure if I like this report, it feels a bit strange. The world has changed a lot in the past 3 years, and I asked for a progress report on the council plan to confirm that the priorities outlined remain the right ones, and to assess the progress that we've made since it was first published in the early part of 2019. As it says in the foreword to the plan, people shape places and places shape people. And the council is uniquely placed to guide and support both the town and its people towards a better future. The council plan sets out our vision for achieving this, and in spite of the immense challenges that the council and all public services have faced over the past 2 years, we have achieved remarkable things. Since 2018, we supported over 600 people into work and extended the business loan scheme to create 650 jobs and safeguard at 1,100 more. Our recent agreement with the DWP will bring over 3,000 staff into the centre of town and more opportunities. Working with schools in the opportunity area, we've reduced permanent exclusion rates by over half and reduced the number of children being educated outside of primary, secondary and special schools by 50%. You can see the difference we've made in the regeneration of the town's infrastructure with our £1 billion plus growth and prosperity programme and in the new homes that we have built. We now have a 28 million state-of-the-art conference centre integrated with our wonderful winter gardens, and you can also see concrete expression of the growing confidence of external investors in the town with the new high-quality hotels and ambitious plans for Blackpool Central, and all of that within the context of a global pandemic. In the past 3 years, we've delivered many of the building blocks for transforming and modernising the town. Our plans to grow and diversify the local economy are now firmly embedded and progressing well. We will ensure that local people and businesses obtain the maximum benefit possible from these changes. We remain fully committed to changing the lives of local children and families for the better, and the improvement in our services and the continued strengthening of local schools and colleges are now being recognised by both Ofsted and central government. We will continue to invest in keeping our streets and town cleaner and safer. We will also extend and develop our approach of enabling local people to shape and improve the areas they live in, building on the work we've started in Claremont and Revo to include a master plan for Waterloo South Shore. Obviously, we come on to then in the budget in the next item as to how we will financially deliver that plan. I move the recommendation of the council plan, Lady Mayor.
And seconded.
Oops. Very happy to second, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I think we can all in this council be pleased with the progress that we've been making in the plan, which is recognised nationally. The excellent work that this council is doing can be seen by simply wandering through the borough and seeing all the activity that's going on, unlike many other places. So we can take a lot of pleasure in that success, and I think this new plan builds on that. So it's a great pleasure for me to second that and to be part of a progressive administration that is bringing this about.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. So, any other councillors to speak? Just reminding you that if you wish to speak, you can only speak once, and the mover and the seconder have reserved the right to speak, so there is a right of reply. So, any other councillors to speak? Councillor Owen.
don't vote for an agenda like this. It's a very well-written piece. It carries on the tradition of good design and appeal, but more than anything, it is packed throughout with the intention of the Labour leadership of this council. And I am delighted to be able to support it, Madam Deputy. And I hope that all members with goodwill will say that this is a programme for our future, and it's one that all members of this authority should be proud to support.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Any further councillors wish to speak? Okay. Council to vote on the motion by show of hands. Those in favour? Okay. Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on now to item 7 and discuss the council tax for 2022-23. It's on a separate order of proceedings, so if I would ask that councillors refer to this during this discussion. Councillor Williams. Is it you? Yeah, Councillor Williams.
If you want to introduce Lady Mayor.
Okay.
First,
yeah, do follow my own instructions. Sorry. Okay. Item 1. Proposed budget savings in relation to dividend from Blackpool Operating Company Limited. From prior communication, we're aware that the following councillors will likely declare prejudicial interests at the start of the meeting. As council appointed non-executive directors of Blackpool Operating Company Limited. So you will now need to leave the room before we discuss this item. So Councillor Kane and Councillor Critchley, Councillor Walsh will now leave the room. Councillor Williams, if you move on.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. I move the recommendation to agree a budget saving of £900,000 based on a dividend from Blackpool Operating Company Limited, reference Appendix 2 of the report to the Executive on 7th of February 2022. Thank you.
Seconded.
Happy to second, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other speakers on this item? Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. I think it's a good time to just commend John Child for all the work he's done at the Sandcastle. You know, over the years, it must be going on for 4 decades now that John's been there. What a fantastic servant he is. And hopefully the whole council recognises the good work that Mr Child has done, not just for the Sandcastle, for Blackpool as a whole, and quite a number of charities that he does excellent work for as well. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Any other councillors wish to speak? So, Councillor Williams, do you have a right to reply?
Just to say, yes, I agree, and particularly never more so his leadership over the last year, which saw the, coming out of COVID to have, for the Sandcastle to have the best ever year, it's been under his leadership, so absolutely acknowledge that. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to vote on this motion, and a recorded vote is required. So we'll go work alphabetically through councillors, and if you just state your intent. Thank you.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. It's a recorded vote on the motion in the name of Councillor Lynn Williams. Please could members indicate their answer with either yes, no or abstain. Councillor Baker?
No.
Councillor Benson? Yes. Councillor Brooks?
Yes.
Councillor Mrs Maxine Callow?
Abstain.
Councillor Campbell?
Yes.
Councillor Clapham? Councillor Debbie Coleman.
Yes.
Councillor Gary Coleman.
Yes.
Councillor Collett.
Yes.
Councillor Cox.
Yes.
Councillor Farrell.
Yes.
Councillor Galley.
Yes.
Councillor Hobson.
Yes.
Councillor Hugo.
Yes.
Councillor Hunter.
Yes.
Councillor Hutton.
Yes.
Councillor Jackson.
Yes.
Councillor Kirkland.
Yes.
Councillor Matthews.
Yes.
Councillor Bradley Mitchell.
Yes.
Councillor Martin Mitchell.
Yes.
Councillor O'Hara.
Yes.
Councillor Owen.
Yes.
Councillor Roberts.
Yes.
Councillor Robertson.
Yes.
Councillor Danny Scott.
Yes.
Councillor Michelle Scott.
Yes.
Councillor Rick Scott.
Yes.
Councillor Sloman.
Yes.
Councillor Smith.
Yes.
Councillor Stansfield.
Yes.
Councillor Taylor.
Yes.
Councillor Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Councillor Tony Williams.
Yes.
Councillor Wilshaw.
Yes.
Lady Deputy Mayor.
Yes. Can we invite?
Leave that in a second.
Okay. So, I'm just gonna carry on.
Lady Deputy Mayor, members have voted as follows: 34 for, 1 against, 1 abstention.
That's carried. Thank you. Can we invite Councillors Kane and Walsh and Critchley back in, please? Okay. If we can discuss for the Leader of the Council to move the remainder of budget savings. Sorry. Oh, I moved on too far. Sorry. Getting ahead of myself there. Sorry, people. So, item 2. Proposed budget savings in relation to the establishment of Blackpool Waste Services Limited. These form part of the identified non-recurrent savings to replenish working balances of £6 million. From prior communication, we're aware that the following councillors have declared prejudicial interests at the start of the meeting as council-appointed non-executive directors of Blackpool Waste Services. So councillors Hutton, Kirkland and Stansfield are now to leave the room before this part of the council tax item can commence. Okay. Councillor Williams, if you would like to continue.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. I move the recommendation to agree a budget saving of £250,000 as part of the identified total non-recurrent savings of £6.04 million to replenish working balances based on savings as a result of consolidation following the establishment of Blackpool Waste Services Limited, trading as Enverco, reference Appendix 2 of the report to the Executive on the 7th of February 2022. Thank you.
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other speakers on this item? Councillors? No speakers? Okay, if we can move on to, sorry. Yeah, we're going to, if you can raise your hands to vote on this motion. Sorry, I'm looking at it. I am present. I am here. There will be a recorded vote on this item. We will work through councillors alphabetically. So you can speak clearly and note your intent. Thank you.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Members, this is a recorded vote on the motion in the name of Councillor Lynn Williams. Please could members indicate their answer with either yes, no or abstain. Councillor Baker?
Yes.
Councillor Benson?
Yes.
Councillor Brooks?
Yes.
Councillor Kane?
Yes.
Councillor Mrs Maxine Callow?
Yes.
Councillor Campbell?
Yes.
Councillor Clapham?
Yes.
Councillor Debbie Coleman?
Yes.
Councillor Gary Coleman?
Yes.
Councillor Collett?
Yes.
Councillor Cox?
Yes.
Councillor Critchley?
Yes.
Councillor Farrell?
Yes.
Councillor Gully?
Yes.
Councillor Hobson?
Yes.
Councillor Hugo?
Yes.
Councillor Hunter?
Yes.
Councillor Jackson?
Yes.
Councillor Matthews?
Yes.
Councillor Bradley Mitchell?
Yes.
Councillor Martin Mitchell?
Yes.
Councillor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councillor Owen?
Yes.
Councillor Roberts?
Yes.
Councillor Robertson?
Yes.
Councillor Danny Scott?
Yes.
Councillor Michelle Scott?
Yes.
Councillor Rick Scott?
Yes.
Councillor Sloman?
Yes.
Councillor Smith?
Yes.
Councillor Taylor?
Yes.
Councillor Walsh?
Yes.
Councillor Lynn Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Tony Williams?
Yes.
Councillor Wilshaw?
Yes.
Lady Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Lady Deputy Mayor, members have voted as follows: 36 for, none against, no abstentions.
That's carried. If you can invite Councillors Hutton, Kirkland and Stansfield to return. Now I'd like the Leader of the Council to move item 3, the remainder of budget savings and the setting of council tax.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. I move the Council to agree the remaining recommendations 2C to 2K as outlined in Appendix 7A and reproduced within the agenda, bringing together the recommendations from the executive meetings on the 7th of February 2022 and 24th of February 2022 into a summary document set out in accordance with the requirements of the Localism Act 2011. Firstly, I must commend and thank our officers and members for the hard work that has gone into producing this budget. It has been a difficult task in what has been another extremely challenging year. Throughout the pandemic, we have as a town, a whole community and within this chamber faced significant loss and grief. This time last year, I spoke of my enormous pride over the way in which our community, our partners and the council responded to protect and support our most vulnerable residents wherever we could. As we now start to emerge from the worst public health crisis in living memory, that sense of pride is undiminished. Through the relentless efforts of the council and its many partners, we are coming out of an unprecedented situation with a true sense of purpose and optimism, and with the foundations in place to create a better, more vibrant future. In 2021, we saw a remarkable recovery in the visitor economy. We had footfall over 20% higher than pre-pandemic levels, helped enormously by our early commitment to extend the illuminations and the great partnership work by the Tourism Recovery Group. I'm equally proud that as a Labour group we are continuing to deliver on our pledge to improve the life chances of our residents and to protect the most vulnerable, despite more than a decade of politically motivated cuts to local government budgets. These cuts, as we know, hitting more deprived areas in the north the hardest. That is why we have prioritised the protection of services and investing in those that are so important to people, tackling community issues such as cleaner streets and alleyways, enhanced enforcement and CCTV, and conducting a full review into youth services which will lead to significant investment. At the same time, the regeneration of the town is gathering momentum. We are seeing unprecedented investment in our town centre business district. We have developed ambitious plans to transform our most deprived wards, and our ever-improving tourism offer puts us in a strong place to continue what has already been a remarkable post-COVID recovery. This all means we remain in a strong position to deliver our council plan that seeks to grow our economy and make the lives of Blackpool people better. Before I move on to the budget itself, I would like to look back at some of the achievements of the past year. As you will no doubt be aware, today is International Women's Day. Last year I made a clear statement in this chamber that we will not tolerate the harassment and abuse of women on our streets and in their homes. This has been the catalyst for our new co-produced whole partnership domestic abuse strategy for Blackpool, delivered in January. It triggered the hard work from our community safety partnership that secured Home Office funding, enabling us to address key concerns that women and girls in our community have told us stop them feeling safe and secure in our community. We are working in partnership with local expert third sector groups and community leaders to develop training, awareness and support to prevent harassment against women and girls on our streets, in our schools, our workplaces and in our homes. Abuse and harassment will not be tolerated. It stops here. As we now emerge from the worst of the pandemic and start to return to something that feels more akin to normal life, there is a risk that we overlook the outstanding work that has been done and continues to be done to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 and prepare for recovery. A year ago to this very day, on March the 8th, we saw the introduction of Step 1 of the government's roadmap, resulting in the reopening of schools, but with the general population ordered to stay home. It was a map that never looked straightforward, and it turned out to be littered with pitfalls along the way. For our own Director of Public Health and his team, working in partnership with health services, voluntary sector and other partners, it became a balancing act between driving down infection rates and driving up vaccinations. Time and again, our services and community responded magnificently, working tirelessly to deliver exceptional levels of service across the entire local population. In addition to the delivery programme through GP surgeries and pharmacies across the town, we were able to deliver 22,000 vaccinations on the mobile vaccine bus. We have had consistently high testing rates throughout the pandemic, and we have seen the positive impact of strong collaborative working with schools, businesses and the social care sector. These combined efforts were nothing short of heroic, and it would be remiss of me not to thank each and every person who has contributed to the pandemic response in Blackpool. Throughout that most challenging period of time, we never lost sight of the need to have a clear vision of how we reinvigorate our communities and regenerate our town. These are just some of the initiatives over the past 12 months that illustrate our commitment to putting our residents front and centre in everything that we do. Our approach to working with families experiencing challenge has fundamentally changed. Blackpool Families Rock is a more positive, relationship-based approach and one co-designed with local parents. The number of children in care has reduced by more than 10% since May 2020 against a rising national trend. Better Start has delivered 4 successful outreach schemes in the last year, supporting more than 2,000 families with young children. We have seen improving results in Blackpool schools, with primary schools outperforming the national average and nearly 90% now judged to be good or outstanding by Ofsted and of course the college. Head Start has worked with dozens of schools with over 3,500 primary school children benefiting from resilience-based classes or groups. We are leading on the development of a whole town approach to autism with the establishment of an all-age autism board that will involve all sectors, including businesses, and will put parents and carers at the heart of this powerful new initiative. An active life strategy has been developed to improve the physical, social and mental well-being of residents. A range of initiatives have been introduced to increase early access to drug and alcohol support, and an innovative community smoking cessation service has been implemented, which complements existing GP and pharmacy support. The 5 million that our highways and traffic management team secured from a Department of Transport bidding competition has already resulted in hundreds of thousands of square metres of roads, including half of the main roads in the town, receiving preventative treatment through Project Amber. Benefits that have accrued from this work include 90 tonnes of carbon reduction. Blackpool Coastal Housing has supported more than 2,000 vulnerable customers during the course of the pandemic, and hundreds of households have been provided with emergency accommodation, with most being supported into new tenancies. One of my first decisions as leader was to ensure a full review of youth services across the town. After securing funding for this important piece of work, we've been working collaboratively with the third sector to review the existing youth provision across the town. This review has included surveys and focus group with young people and will help drive the future of youth provision. It is vital that we listen to our young people, particularly post-COVID, which has affected them in so many ways. 2022 will see the launch of a new youth service partnership with significant investment alongside the Youth Investment Fund. We have worked to develop a new youth hub in the town centre to support young people to access jobs and training, and to make the transition into work smoother and easier. In addition, the Claremont project has developed a strong team to tackle the challenges that the area faces. Vibrant organic community organisations such as the Magic Club are giving local children and young people more support and opportunities. There is a similar picture to be painted in terms of economic growth. As we started to see some light at the end of the tunnel as the vaccination programme was accelerated last year, we were determined to put in place a tourism recovery plan that was of sufficient scale and quality to give our businesses the best possible chance of recouping some of the losses that they incurred over 2 years of COVID disruption. The decision to invest around 1 million of business support money in events and marketing to kickstart our hard-hit tourism and hospitality industry was key to delivering that plan. We also made an early commitment to extend the illuminations until January, a decision vital and appreciated by our businesses and hospitality industry to enable them to plan. The end result was even better than we had envisaged, with huge volumes of people coming into the town centre and onto the promenade during the summer and over the final part of the year when the illumination season was extended by 2 months. The Christmas by the Sea event over several weeks on the Tower Festival headland clearly captured the public's imagination and gave us the best Christmas visitor numbers we have ever witnessed. The Centre for Cities found that in the summer, Blackpool topped their national chart of post-pandemic recovery in July, with a 120% of pre-pandemic footfall compared to a national average of 50%. The establishment of a tourism business improvement district during 2021 created the opportunity to add yet further impetus to that recovery process. At the same time, many of our regeneration projects were rising from the ground. If you look around, here's just a few of some of what you will see. A new 4-star Holiday Inn and tram extension nearing completion opposite Blackpool North Station. The brand new conference and exhibition centre opening its doors alongside our wonderful winter gardens, taking our business tourism offer to another level. Work is underway on the fit out of the new Showtime Museum on the promenade. We have exciting new programmes at the Grundy Art Gallery thanks to a blossoming relationship with the Arts Council, who has prioritised Blackpool for special attention. Private sector investment and innovation in our visitor economy with new family attractions opening this year. When we launch our free attraction ticket scheme over the coming weeks, I know that many of our residents will get an opportunity to experience for themselves the sheer quality of our tourism offer. Building work commencing on the eagerly anticipated extension of the House of Shopping Centre, paving the way for the opening of a new premium large format cinema, restaurants and retail store. Work commencing on the 300 million Blackpool Central Leisure Development, aimed at bringing an additional 600,000 visitors a year and creating 1,000 new jobs for people in Blackpool. Significant investment in new social housing at Grange Park and Troutbeck. These are the sort of interventions which led to the Council's housing team being named Council of the Year at the UK Housing Awards. All of our capital regeneration schemes bring with them enormous social value. whether that be improved job opportunities for local people, better quality social housing, or better life chances. It is about translating our ambition to create a better Blackpool into opportunities for our children and our children's children. These are schemes that send out a strong message to the public and private sector partners that Blackpool is a place that has a real sense of direction, purpose, forward momentum and ambition. Nowhere is that better illustrated than the announcement towards the end of last year that more than 3,000 civil servants are to be relocated to a new £100 million office development at Talbot Gateway. At the time, I described that as a historic moment, and this is. We've been working on those plans to develop a civil service hub in the heart of Blackpool for many years alongside our partners Muse. It is a scheme that doesn't just protect existing jobs on the Fylde Coast, but will have a transformative effect on the town centre, bringing benefits to retailers, the hospitality businesses and leisure facilities. And our ambition doesn't end there. The Town Deal programme that we secured in 2020 is moving apace, and over the next 5 years we'll see the delivery of a number of transformational projects, including the relocation of the Blackpool Fylde College Palatine Road campus to create a world-class university learning environment in the town centre. The planned new multiversity campus has been designed to accommodate over 3,600 learners and will help to address local skills needs, working hand in hand with employers. Creation of a new road to open up development sites to attract more jobs and investment at the Blackpool Airport Enterprise Zone, adding to the 1,600 jobs that have already been created. Regenerating the Revo area with a community sports village, providing leisure, education and residential uses and catalysing further private investment to the area. Redevelopment of the Stanley buildings in the town centre to create modern office space for new start-ups and growing businesses. Upgrading the illuminations to attract additional visitors by developing new features and lighting technology and infrastructure and helping to deliver this attraction in a greener, more sustainable way. We are also investing in our communities, initially developing local master plans for those areas of highest need, including Claremont, Revo and Waterloo. Alongside our housing companies, we will be working with residents, public and private partners to transform outcomes for these communities. The plans are ambitious and wide-ranging, with whole-scale transformation that encompasses housing, the environment and job opportunities. So I now turn to this year's budget and the year ahead. May I have a glass of water? I can speak now. It is essential to place this budget in the context of what has been happening for more than a decade. We have suffered 12 years of appalling, politically motivated cuts by the government with no end in sight. By 2023, the Council will have had to cut a total of £195 million from its budget since 2011-12. This means our net budget stands at £160 million, less than the overall value of the cuts. The compound effect of that is almost £1.4 billion has been taken away from the people of Blackpool over that period. I repeat, £1.4 billion. An eye-watering amount of money for a town that has a disproportionate need for help and support. It all adds up to a sustained and deliberate attack by the Conservative government, but we steadfastly refuse to allow this to stand in the way of progress. We will continue to invest in services for the vulnerable and in projects that will safeguard Blackpool's future. The budget I present to you today shows how we will address further reductions in government funding and increased costs. This creates a funding gap of £8.6 million, which we will fill in part through further difficult decisions across council departments, but not at the expense of our commitment to supporting the most vulnerable. I am pleased to say that although it has been incredibly challenging, there will be no compulsory redundancies in relation to 2022-23 budget. There could be up to 15 temporary contracts which will come to an expected end, and a small number of voluntary redundancy requests are anticipated and will be approved where this makes a saving and can be achieved without significant disruption to services. Faced with yet more savings to find, it might have been easy to take a short-term approach with cuts that erode the quality of public service that we promised to protect. We have wholeheartedly rejected that approach, and there will be no cuts to any council services. Instead, we will be investing in adult social care and moving forward at pace implementing and improving enforcement across the town, CCTV, cleaning of streets and alleyways, and transportation for children with special educational needs. We are making a massive investment of £4.2 million in adult social care. While this may be a significant amount of money, it is absolutely essential. Our services and the services delivered by our partners in the private independent sector have been at the forefront of the pandemic, supporting and caring for our most vulnerable at no small risk to their own safety. We absolutely need to protect the most vulnerable and support the NHS to do its critical work in recovering from the backlog in health services built up during COVID. Just as importantly, we need to pay the staff in the care industry better. It is not enough to just clap for our carers. We need to value them where it counts in their pay packets. We are working with our providers so that their staff can be paid the foundation living wage. This is something that we have aspired to for a while, and I'm very proud to say that we can now afford to make that commitment today. Working with our wholly owned waste company, Envico, we have committed additional funding to the Neighbourhood Environmental Action Team. This will ensure a greater focus on fly tipping and environmental crime and increase engagement with residents to help them better manage their waste. Envico will be working closely with the Public Protection Team to address issues such as environmental protection and antisocial behaviour across the town and in targeted areas. The fact that we've been able to achieve another 9 million in savings with no job losses and no cuts in any services is an extraordinary feat. I am mindful that in order to protect our services, we have had to take the decision to increase some fees and charges, including raising council tax by 2.99%. This is not something we want to do, as we understood the difficulties our residents are facing due to rising costs of living, but the sustained cuts in local government funding leave us with little choice. Many hard-pressed local authorities around the country will tell you the same story. The increase in car parking fees is the first in 5 years, and our tariffs remain significantly lower than those in other towns and cities. We will, as we have these past few years, continue to provide targeted parking discounts and incentives at key trading periods, such as the run-up to Christmas. The opposition are likely to say that this change will drive people away, but their vision will be a race to the bottom, not investing in new attractions, not investing in the conference centre, not creating new and better reasons to come to Blackpool. Value for money is important. A compelling reason to visit is essential. This Labour administration understands and supports tourism and regeneration. The truth is that based on current trajectories, local government finances are simply unsustainable. Social care now accounts for 77% of our total budget, up from 48% in 2011-12. That means we have only 23% of our budget available to spend on everything else, and this includes numerous statutory services that are not social care. I share residents' concern about council tax. I've said it before and I say it again. Council tax remains a deeply unfair form of taxation based on property values that are decades out of date. The system penalises poorer communities in the north and benefits wealthier communities elsewhere. By taking money away from local government year after year, it leaves the vast majority of upper tier authorities with no option than to increase council tax by the maximum amount. Despite that bleak outlook on local government funding, this Labour-led council is committed to providing better quality services for residents, protecting the vulnerable and investing in the future of our town. We are absolutely committed to promoting the principles of fairness and equality, and I'm delighted to say that we are leading by example. We are actively addressing any gender disparity in terms of pay and workplace conditions to ensure that Blackpool is at the forefront of local authorities in removing any barriers that there might be in terms of career progression for women, particularly around the issues of childcare. When the council takes the lead on important matters such as these and shows that initiatives such as flexible working can actually be beneficial, it can have a positive impact on more enterprises within the region, meaning the council can lead on those conversations with employers and show those benefits to businesses. In conclusion, Lady Deputy Mayor, I'm extremely proud of this town and this council's extraordinary response to the dual challenge of a global pandemic and continuing erosion of local government funding. In presenting this budget, I would urge the government to address the financial crisis affecting local council like ours up and down the country by delivering a fairer system that puts the funding of local public services on a sustainable footing. The Conservative government has made much of its levelling up agenda in recent months. If it is truly serious about pursuing that agenda, it should look no further than Blackpool to start its journey. Levelling up cannot happen without properly funded local government and services. As you have heard this evening, we've achieved a great deal despite the years of austerity, but there is so much more that can be done in the years ahead. We have demonstrated that we can deliver real and lasting change if we have the required funding and support from central government. and we trust that ministers will recognise that potential. We are proud of our town. We are proud of the way our community has responded to the challenges of the pandemic. Proud of the way that our community just doesn't want to recover from the pandemic, but wants to reach higher than before with even greater ambition. This Labour administration values our community, we understand our community, and we listen to our community. We have protected and invested in the services that matter to our community, like libraries, parks and children's centres. We are putting new investment into ensuring we have cleaner and safer streets. We are investing in our children with new youth services, new sports facilities in Revo with Blackpool FC, the new multiversity, the youth hub and the new job opportunities created by the regeneration work we are leading. The future is bright for Blackpool. We are ambitious for our town and for our young people. This budget will help us deliver on the things that matter to our community and invest in the future of the next generation. And I commend it to the Council. Thank you.
Councillor to second.
To second that excellent proposition, and I reserve the right to speak.
Councillor Tony Williams, I invite you to reply.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. For the last 8 or 9 years, I've stood in the same spot and responded to the leader's budget speech. Leaders before Lynn, of course. And every year, we both seem to be saying the same thing. As usual, Mr. Thompson and his team have worked their magic and put together a workable budget that would appear to tick all the boxes. And as usual, all their good work will be in vain when we get to the coalface. For the same amount of years, I have told this council of the dangers of uncontrolled costs of outside children placement and why we should have our own in-house mix of facilities. I wonder what eye-watering sum of money our accountants team could cable together if they added up how much we have actually spent on these placements over the years. Blackpool has become the home of some of the largest providers of childcare, and due to the number of beds they offer, they are running a virtual monopoly. They're usually more expensive than out-of-town providers, and that's the reason why this council plays so many children away from Blackpool. Of course, that adds to the cost. Visiting, family, transport, etc. These larger providers purport to provide special therapeutic services to justify higher fees. But in truth, children may only see a therapist for an hour a week. Not good enough. And in the interim periods, the children are cared for by largely unqualified staff. Quite a lot of the children in their care are from out of the borough. Inevitably, these imported children create a further economical burden on the town in regard to schooling, health, policing, etc. The number of children coming to Blackpool for care is growing, along with the added indirect cost to the local economy. We need to think more creatively as to how we manage this and how we can benefit from providing training to these companies as a funding stream to build our own facilities. While the numbers of LAC are stable and the budget is static, getting to grips with local issues is a real opportunity. Despite a review of charges being made by these very large care companies, and due to economic climate, they continue to rise. The costs continue to rise. And we've no control over that. Through recent years, we've heard the constant mantra from this council of austerity cuts, which were incidentally necessary due to bad financial management by the previous Labour government. Yet the Conservative government get blipped. Of course, there was nothing left in the pot. The note said it all. Yet this Conservative government have been extremely generous to Blackpool by funding new projects and supporting the economic growth of the town. Not Labour, Conservative. In fact, they've been generous to the tune of at least £2 billion over the last 10 years, much more than any previous government. And we've got 2 Conservative MPs to thank for that. Scott Benton and Paul Maynard, who were no doubt working very hard behind the scenes when we got the recent £49 million. Add to that the various amounts of other money the council has received from English Heritage, the Arts Council, the National Lottery. It's fair to say that this council could be considered to be cash rich. Unfortunately, due to delayed projects, over-budget spending and chaotic management, lots of this money has just slipped through the council's fingers. You don't get to hear about most of their financial mistakes as they're kept under the radar, such as £150,000 we had to pay out over the Franklin Graham fiasco, or £56,000 of lost money that I found recently, not accounted for. What we can see if you look at the transparency spend on the council's website is the obscene amount of money this council spends on consultants. Over the last couple of years, the council spent £6 million, 587,800 on consultants. These consultants were mostly employed on the tramway extension, some 500 metres of track and a terminal. We've been operating trams since 1885. You'd think we'd learned how to do it by now. No, get a consultant. In fact, looking at the many different areas we employ consultants, you could be forgiven in thinking this council doesn't know anything at all. The museum, the conference centre, the enterprise zone, the tramway extension, seawall defences, children's services, adult social services, and even the chief himself, and I've no idea what this is, has an outlet of £50,000 which was spent on a strategy team. I have no idea what that is. There's no explanation in these figures. Just a number. Just a number. Recently, I stated that the conference centre was wildly over budget, a statement that was denied by the leader. When the announcement was made that we'd received the money to build it, the stated budget was £25 million. Just a few weeks later, that budget had increased to £28 million. And by the time it opened its long closed doors, the amount had reached £30 million. I'm certainly no mathematician, but even I can figure out that that final figure was £5 million more than the first budget. And that doesn't include any unknown or continuing costs, as I believe there are still some serious snagging faults. Maybe we should have hired another set of consultants to add up the numbers. But not everything is negative. We've got this amazing £300 million new development happening to the Central Prom. Well, I say new, but when it's finished, it will be past its sell-by date. The main feature is already old tech, and the same ride has worn out and been decommissioned in other theme parks around the world. I get it. I welcome investment. I know it's more than just this one ride, but that's what we're hanging our coats on. That's what Nikai is saying. This is going to be great, Charity of the Gods, except we've changed the name, because the theme of Charity of the Gods was written in 1966. So most kids today won't even know what it is. In the first phase, we're getting rid of a council-owned car park to build another car park that we have to pay rent on. One step forward, two steps back. I most sincerely welcome the investment into our leisure offer, and I hope it's a success. But it's going to cause a great deal of congestion in the town and gridlock during the development and construction phase, and it will impact greatly on our retail trade and other services for weeks to come, months to come. As the leader said, it's been a turbulent 2 years during the pandemic, but thanks to a brilliant vaccination rollout and excellent teamwork by our health workers and other blue light services, Blackpool continues to weather the storm. But we'd be naive to think it's over. We expect crowds to come to Blackpool during the summer, and with that expectation comes risk. A risk that could probably and will affect our own residents. However, I don't see a contingency plan in any of the policies or any vision from this council, including a financial safety net and a local protection agreement. So summing up, it's the Conservative government that have provided additional funding to this council to build all the things that the leader is saying she's proud of. It's never happened before. When we return to controlling this council, you might laugh, we will put a stop to all unnecessary vanity developments. We'll provide an enhanced and proven plan to increase apprenticeships in all areas of local business. We'll instigate a policy of zero tolerance in regard to all crime and antisocial behaviour. We'll seek out operations to turn commuter and regional connection flights from Blackpool Airport. I'm sure David Owen wouldn't like that. We'll control the vast amount of money spent on outside childcare placements. We'll take more care of our local residents and their environment. Because even though you think you're doing a great job, I get to hear the moans and groans, as all my colleagues do. And I'm afraid the people aren't happy. We've been more aggressive and creative in our marketing of leisure and events in the town. And unlike the party opposite, we will protect all of our green spaces. On this side of the chamber, you see a group of people who've had real private enterprise skills in a multitude of industries. Commerce, education, man management, hospitality, aviation, medical health, project delivery, engineering, marketing, childcare, the justice system, public relations and recruitment, and more. This is the team that will produce a tax-saving budget that will really work for the benefit of all our residents and surpass its own targets, so that Councillor Lynn Williams and I don't have to spend the next 8 or 9 years on groundhog budget speeches. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. As leader of the second opposition group, I move to Councillor Gary Coleman to reply to the budget speech. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lady Deputy Mayor. I don't have a speech today to give. I just, again, reassess, and, you know, Steve Thompson and his team have done excellent work, as we say every year, under very trying circumstances. There are some excellent items within the budget, and there's some things that we don't agree with. If we vote against the budget, please don't think we are voting with the Conservatives, because I do sometimes find it very disingenuous when the Conservatives do not see the devastating effects that the cutbacks have had over the years. I think the word decimated is bandied around sometimes, but that is something like 1 in 10. You know, that when we hear the figures that have disappeared from the budget, it's far more than that over the last number of years. So thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak, Lady Deputy Mayor, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Coleman. Any other speakers? Councillor Bradley Mitchell.
It's tiring to listen to this Labour Council once again point the finger of blame at cuts and austerity. This year, the spending power of council is up to £159 million from 147 the year before. This is an almost 8% increase. And it's not just this year that spending power has been bolstered. Last year it was up 4.6%, the year before 6.4%. You need to go back around 5 years to find the last time spending power did not increase. However, year after year, this Labour Council do not meet their own budget. And year after year, there is multi-million pound overspending. Last year, the overspend was approximately £5.6 million. And I had a glance through previous year's budgets, and it was a whopping £8.4 million the year before. I'm sure you'll try to point your finger at COVID costs, and I appreciate this caused significant pressures on local authorities, but there is a significant non-COVID related overspend, and it is no excuse for the preceding years. 2019, an overspend of 7.6 million, 2018, an overspend of 3.8 million. I've been told previously by this Labour Council that they don't want to get bogged down in numbers and percentages, but that is not acceptable when you're responsible for managing our town. There can be no excuse for mismanaging the budget year after year after year. If people at home are expected to manage their finances appropriately, why can't this council? Are we to expect another multi-million pound overspend this year? There wouldn't be a need for another large increase to our council tax if this wasn't the case. Once again, the council has gone for the maximum increase it's possibly allowed without having to give a voice to the people of Blackpool. This follows maximum increases in other recent years and follows an increase last month that this council put on council rents. The actions of this Labour Council are going to hit some of the poorest and the most vulnerable in society the hardest. Thankfully, this government has introduced a £150 council tax rebate for people living in properties in council bands A to D, supporting the most vulnerable people in society to price hikes, including around 90% of Blackpool properties. This is equivalent to about 66,000 families in Blackpool, and I'll finish by encouraging ratepayers across the town to set up direct debits as soon as possible with the local council to make sure they receive the money.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Councillor Benson.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. This Labour group should be commended for this budget. Labour councillors out there every day talking to residents what's important to them. Cleaner streets will have improving enforcement, CCTV to keep residents safe, building a local economy for everybody. A council that is committed to be carbon neutral by 2030, an extensive building programme, building accommodation, supported accommodation, respite facilities for our most vulnerable citizens. A council that even through the toughest times we've kept control of our libraries and our sports centres. This budget, no increase in leisure services, fees and charges. At this time after the pandemic, those facilities are more important to our residents. No increase in fees and charges to any of our library services. Investment in social care, 4.2 million. All our carers to be paid the National Foundation wage. This underpaid and undervalued workforce deserves more than being clapped weekly. It should not have taken a national pandemic to show that. And I can speak through authority because I've done that job. Carers out there working 30 and 40 hours a week. For, you know, it's absolutely awful. I work, as you all know, and I go out quite early to work. The only people walking the streets are our carers, visiting our most vulnerable citizens. Long hours, underpaid. This investment in social care will help with the recruitment. The industry has been hit hard, and it will show that we are investing in recruitment. This budget shows we are committed to the residents and how we are trying to make and improve our lives. Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Benson. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Hobson, Councillor Hobson, followed by Councillor Mark Smith. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Lady Mayor. Just in response to Councillor Williams' points on the children's budget. He's absolutely correct to bring the overspend up, and I would expect no less, so good questions. All local councils are struggling with the cost of placements, and as you point out, they are immoral is the way I would describe them. So that is absolutely correct. Most councils are struggling with this. However, I did have a conversation when I came into role some months ago about looking at the viability of setting up children's homes in Blackpool. It's not as easy as just buying a building, putting a few staff in there, and away you go. Some of these people have to be very specific skills. So what I'll say to Councillor Williams, how about after this meeting I have a conversation with the chair of the scrutiny committee for them to perhaps do a piece of work to look at that. Would you be happy with that? Okay, I shall do so. Thank you.
Councillor Mark-Smith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just want to thank you to the leader and Councillor Williams over there. Just want to talk about, we talk about grants, don't we? And we talk about grants and revenue and grant spending. As you appreciate, we can't spend grant money on revenue spend for the council. We get one-off spending for specific projects. So, and I don't want to increase council tax. It's hard enough out there as it is. We did homage to Bradley Mitchell over there, Councillor Bradley Mitchell, regarding my energy bill is going to double. £150 not going to go very far. It's a fraction to what's going to be paid this year. So just a token, really, to be honest. That's going to be hitting the hardest people out there in Blackpool. Can the leader agree with me? Since 2011, we've lost a cumulative impact of £1.7 billion out of the council core funding. Over the last 11 years, the council and the officers have worked very hard in obtaining one-off grant funding on specific projects across Blackpool. And these projects are extremely welcome, and it does improve the work aspirations and the area and the town. Okay, I'm not going to. You talked about there's £2 billion. I don't quite get that big. I'm just talking about there might be other funding we've had that I don't know about, but I talk about what I've seen. Okay, okay. So we've received 16.4 million funding to extend the tram line up Talbot Road. This doesn't pay for filling the potholes. It's ring fenced for that project. Okay, we received £20.7 million towards the conference centre. This doesn't support the elderly in the community. We received 7.8 million for quality corridors. This doesn't pay for looking after our children's services. We received 7.25 million, right? Sorry, it's not funny. It's serious matter. Serious money, serious matter. 7.5 million towards the Showtown
Sorry,
Museum.
Councillor Williams.
Does not pay for emptying our bins. That comes out of the core budget. We've got 5 million towards the Hounds Hill. This doesn't pay for turning our street lights on. Okay. So they've only got 3 pages to go through, Lady Mayor, so it won't take too long. 3.6 million for Adam Street Market. This doesn't pay for cleaning our streets or tackling fly tipping. We received 345k, welcome back to high streets. This doesn't pay for maintaining our parks and the public spaces. We received £600,000 for the Heritage Action Zone. This doesn't pay for work we're doing to support local business in the town centre. What I'm saying is, grant funding doesn't pay for core spending on the work we have to do to maintain the town. So we receive good but large chunks of money to support main projects. So that comes to total around about, I think, 61 million. I'm not talked about the latest money received for the town deal.
Sorry, the red card. No, sorry, Councillor Smith.
I've been timed out.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry.
I've only got halfway through.
Speak quicker. Any other councillors? I saw Councillor Walsh indicate.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. As you come into the chamber and you get excited, and as a resident, as an elected member, and as a business owner in Blackpool, I have to listen to this nonsense from the Labour group. Because one thing that you've not picked up on, and one thing that you don't address, is the highest mortality rates in Blackpool, high unemployment, underachieving from our schools, a rise in antisocial behaviour with more dispersal notices served across the borough than at any time before. Poverty levels increasing and highest addiction and substance abuse. So We're only a population of 143,000 residents. You've had £1 billion in the last decade, and you're still topping all the wrong tables. As we go forward now with your next £1 billion of investment, are we going to still be there? When are we going to see these figures reduce, and when are the people in Blackpool going to benefit? I'll tell you when they're going to, when the Conservatives get in. Because anything that you're touching, it isn't working. It isn't working. It's okay talking about capital funding and about reducing spend for social services and etc. from the central government. But the things that you're putting in place, where's the revenue drawn from it? Where's the aspirations? Where's the jobs coming from it on a mass scale that would fix these problems? Like I said, 143,000 people. You can't fix it with £2 billion. It's time to get rid of Blackpool Labour. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Councillor Brooks, followed by Councillor Scott.
Yeah, thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Just one or 2 points I want to make. First of all, let's talk about austerity. I mean, unfortunately, it's been a long, long time since we've had a Labour government. So I'll take no truck with the people opposite talking to me about it's the previous government's fault. How many governments do you want, for goodness sake? You've had a coalition government, you've had, is it 2 or is it 3, unfortunately, Tory governments. The latest one elected only a couple of years ago. 2019, thank you. So don't talk to me about it's the last government's fault, because the last government was your lot. That's the first thing. Let's talk about planning. It is about planning to fix all the problems that Councillor Walsh talks about. You can't make a plan when you've got to write your funding down on the back of a fag packet. And that's precisely what the Conservative government and the austerity programme has done. It's made a situation where instead of funding councils so they can properly plan and address these issues, what they have to do, they have to fight amongst themselves for a share of a pot. It's a bit like when the casual workers had to go to the dock gates and say, please, 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 throw me a couple of pence, I'll have some casual labour. That's what they're doing to councils. They're making them fight each other for the funding. So all this, it's all from the Conservative government. We've had to compete against other Labour councils, Conservative councils, and no overall control councils to get what we've got. We're not allowed to plan for 5 or 10 years because we only get tuppence halfpenny every time we stand at those dock gates and the employer chucks a few pence down to us. So I'll take none of that nonsense about what we're going to fix. You can only fix it when you can plan it. And that's what it's all about, and that's what we're trying to do. But it's difficult, it's really difficult, when we're only getting grant money that we've competed for. Let's talk about percentage increases, and incidentally, Councillor Mitchell, your percentages, that's fine. I won't mention the PCC's percentage increase of 4.42%, a Conservative Police and Crime Commissioner, or the Fire Authority, a 6.92% increase. Those are side issues, obviously. They're Conservative controlled. Yeah, let's talk about that. But get your facts right. Your 150 quid rebate, they're only used in the council tax direct debit system as a vehicle to pay what is essentially an energy rebate. So let's be clear, it's not a council tax rebate by the glorious Conservative government. It's an energy rebate using the local authorities to fund and to provide that vehicle. I want to finish with something quite positive, the conference centre. The conference centre, I mean, I made the mistake of putting it on social media about the conference centre. I got some awful stick about praising the council for getting the conference centre. And naively, I said, it's going to bring hundreds of people into the town. Good news. It's not even open yet, officially, and yet we've got 1,300 hotel rooms being occupied by Conservative Party delegates. Great stuff. Hopefully, every one of those is going to go to the bars, but the good news is there's 1,500 rooms have been occupied by the trade unionists that are coming to demonstrate outside the conference.
That's enough now, thank you. Sorry. Okay, moving on, we've got Councillor Rick Scott, followed by Councillor Collett.
Thank you, Deputy Lady Mayor. First of all, I'll start, like Councillor Benson, I spend a lot of time talking to residents in my ward. 61 years I've lived in this town, and they are absolutely fed up of what they're getting for their council tax. Absolutely zilch, yeah? I'm the sick and tired of the mismanagement of you lot over there. They're absolutely fed up to the back teeth of it. Council Books, you're talking about percentages. So in the calculation of the adult social care precept, which is calculated on the accumulative method, yeah, which doesn't appear on the council tax bill, yeah, it's declared as a yearly percentage, but not as an actual percentage on the council tax bill. Why is that? Why are you not saying how much the average council taxpayer in Blackpool is having to pay? Is it you're covering it up? You know, you tell me. You know, you're the one that likes to talk about percentages. Yeah, there's one here that I've just mentioned, but you haven't got a clue what it's about. But as I've said before, the average resident is sick to the back teeth of getting nothing out of your lot's performance. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. So, Councillor Collett, followed by Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Lady Mayor. I've been trying to download Chariots of the Gods on my phone for a year. It turns out it's not an app; it's a book. Oh, if only you'd have told me sooner, Councillor Williams. In all seriousness, I think both of the speeches were good, Madam Deputy Mayor, and I think they were quite fair on both accounts. But in realistic terms, fuel prices are at an all-time high. Energy prices are at an all-time high. We're having to put council tax up. Inflation is going up. People's wages are going down. The cost of living is rising. Councillor Walsh said himself, we've got one of the highest levels of poverty and one of the highest levels of unemployment in the country. But there was one key line in both speeches that I thought was the most important line of them all, and that came from our Councillor Williams, and that was that we've delivered this budget despite austerity, despite all of the increases in rises, and there'll be no cuts to council services. So those people who always thought they were okay, those people will now be falling into those areas where they will start to be struggling for money. Those people who weren't okay and are now even more not okay, we will be there. Our services will still be there because we're not cutting anything despite everything else that's going on. So, and all we're actually doing is increasing the investment that we have in the town. Now, some of that has come from funding from the Conservative government, absolutely right. But that is stuff that we have, that's money that we have taken away from us that we then have to go back and ask for again, rather than stuff that we could just be given. I've said this once before, last time I came and gave this speech, we would have preferred a full budget rather than having the money taken up from us and going back with our cap in hand saying, please sir, can we have some more? That's not what we should be doing, but that is the system that we're in. But like I said, when everything starts going wrong for the people in for our residents in our town, we will be there and our services will still be there, no matter all the other cuts, no matter all the other financial crisis that's going on in the world. Thank you, Lady Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Collett. Councillor Ivan Taylor to follow.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. In my years on this council, I've spent many more on that side of the chamber than on this side. In fact, I spent a lot of it sitting where Councillor Tony Williams is sitting at the moment. And it's not too difficult to attack any council, and I've done plenty of it from the other side, so I know how to do it. And I know how you can score the points. And I know how you can reply to the points. But when you've done it all, what matters? What matters is those folk out there. They're not listening to this debate. They're just trying to get by, aren't they? In an age of great difficulty, not just with the pandemic, but for so many other things. And so I came into the chamber tonight for another budget meeting. But when I listened to what Lynn was saying in her speech, I was inspired, really, because I'm proud. And I don't say that because it's Labour or you're Tory. I don't say that. I say it because a real sense that in spite of all the problems, all the things that have been said about the town and its population, which have gone on through many, many more Tory years than Labour years in this council, in spite of all those difficulties which are still there, I feel we're making real progress. I feel we are doing things. I think the investment is coming in. And I think people in government and elsewhere understand this town, and they're starting to come here and talk to us about these problems, and we're making real progress as far as that's concerned. And my great wish is that we could all recognise that and work together in taking this town forward, because we have a lot to be proud of, but we've also got a lot of problems to solve, haven't we? But I have no doubt that when I listened to the speech tonight, I was pleased, to put it mildly, that we are doing things and we're going places. And I'm very proud to be a member of this council after all these years, on both sides, that we are doing a good job for our people. And I think that's what should be said and it should be understood. And I long to see better things, and I think I will see better things, but I'll only see it with progressive people like Lynn leading this council. So I want to say thank you very much, Lynn, for all you're doing.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. Any other councillors wish to speak? Councillor Martin Mitchell, followed by Councillor Danny Scott.
Thank you very much. It is International Women's Day today, and I would like to repeat what I said 2 meetings ago. You don't tackle abuse against women by being best friends with the perpetrators. That wasn't the only mention of abuse I wanted to comment on. Councillor Williams, she was all out against abuse and intolerance, and I concur with those remarks. I think it's important to have freedom of speech on all sides. So the budget, we've heard the figures, haven't we? Aren't they really, really shocking how much money has been taken out of the local economy year after year after year? What a depressing cycle it has been. We've heard about weathering the storm this year. I can tell you it's been like that every year since I've been a councillor, and it was 2011, of course, when I started off. So it's almost as though we were talking about a set of temporary measures, you know, sort of temporary drawback, a temporary setback, and we'll get over it this year. Next year, things will be a little bit better. When is that time going to come? And we got it from the Conservative side, didn't we? The levelling up agenda. Well, I can tell you, I was watching a play by Terence Ratkin in 1958, and the Conservative politician of the time was quoted as being in favour of levelling up. So we had it in 1958. It was bogus then, it's bogus now. When it comes to this side, it will always be bogus. And that wasn't the only quote I wanted to make. We had the fact that the Conservatives have been extremely generous, so we've got to think of a few crumbs being scattered from on high, and we're supposed to say thank you for their extreme generosity. I don't know which world some of these people live in. We've had the advice to get on direct debit because it's really, really good for you. Did some of these people have any idea how difficult it is to be on direct debit when you have such a low income in the first place and you don't know where the next pound's going to come from? Yeah, it's a good idea if you can manage it. But what we all know, many people can't. So some of us know many people can't manage it. Some of us understand the plight of ordinary people in Blackpool today. So we've got weather the storm, levelling up agenda. I think we've got to change the whole political cycle. We've got to stop the cycle of retrenchment. We've got to stop the cycle of going backwards year on year on year. And it's not a case of tampering at the margins. It's a case of revitalising the political system, making sure the money that is there in society not only trickles down, but comes down in a proper way, so people are properly rewarded for our work, for what we do, for the struggles they have to endure day after day after day. That must be our mission. This must be the last budget of this type. We must all unite against anti-austerity policy. No more can we put up with this. I'll support this budget, but we cannot have this continuous cycle of retrenchment.
Councillor Danny Scott. Thank you, Councillor Mitchell.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Yeah, it's sometimes sitting here listening to both sides. The only thing that divides us is the policies. We don't agree with your policies, you don't agree with ours. And from the comments that's just been said about the Conservatives, we could have been a Conservative party here in power as we got more votes at the last election. However, I won't talk too much about it. I don't want to sort of denigrate or abuse people. You talk about billions of pounds, you talk about millions of pounds, you talk about you're going to improve this, you're going to improve that. There's only one undeniable fact in this town, and that's when you walk around and you look at the state of it. At this present moment in time, and you've been in power for 11 years, it's like a third world country. Some of the quality shops have gone, and they've been replaced by cheap shops selling kids' toys, balloons, etc. We have beggars in the streets. I was approached by two this morning as soon as I walked out of West Street car park, and I see the beggars in the hallways all around the town. I see the drunks all over the place. I see especially the one thing that does annoy me are the aggressive beggars. But what really gets up my nose is the amount of people who are now sleeping in hallways in the town centre. I went into a cafe with my wife just the other day, a Compass Cafe, and facing it was a shop that was closed with a large hallway. There's 3 people sleeping there. They've been there for about a fortnight. We have people sleeping down on the prom, and no one is doing anything about it. I had a video given to me. I don't really want to go into many details, but a female in Blackpool actually went to the toilet in a bus stop in Blackpool. This is what the visitors are seeing when they come to this place. They're seeing the rundown place, they're seeing the closed shops. Look around Blackpool Tower, there's quite a few shops all boarded up, and that's where the cheap shops have taken place of the expensive one, like Goldsmiths, and taken place of W.H. Smiths, and others, but I'm not going to name them. I think what we should be concentrating on is getting this town fixed in a fit state for not just the residents to go downtown and feel safe from the beggars and the drunks and the druggies. We should be cleaning it up, getting the good shops in and getting rid of the cheap shops. It's a disgrace to look at, and sometimes I go downtown, I actually feel embarrassed. So you can argue your points all about the billions and your millions and what you're going to be doing. Clean the town up and make it presentable for the people coming to visit this summer. Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Scott. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Deputy Lady Mayor. I just need to respond there to Councillor Scott. To make it really clear to everybody in the chamber, there is a lot of outreach work goes on with these people that you see in doorways, etc. It happens every single morning, first thing in the morning. The problem that we have, you can shake your head as much as you want, Councillor Scott. I'm telling you what happens, and if you'd like to go out with that team, you can actually see them at work. Yeah, I'll set that up for you. But the difficulty that we have with that kind of behaviour is if they are not ready, if they want to live on the street and they will not take our help, there is nothing we can do to force them to do that. So you talk about the retail stores being closed. We've known for a long time that retail in this whole country is on its knees. Yeah, everything goes out of town. So it's not just Blackpool, and I'm not excusing it, because I would love to see all our shops open. But town centres are failing, and that's why we need to look at a different plan for town centres, like bringing in the DWP offices, which will hopefully add to the shopping experience, if you will, and see more shops coming out. But yeah, when it comes to, you have no idea the amount of enforcement work, hand-holding, cajoling people, trying to get them off the street, trying to get them the help that they need, whether they have a substance misuse problem. There's lots and lots of things that go on. And if any members at all would like to go and see what these teams do, please drop me an email and I will set it up for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Any further members wish to speak? Okay. Councillor Williams, do you all right with reply?
I'll have to speak quick one to thank you, Deputy Lady Mayor. Councillor Williams, as Councillor Taylor put it much more nicely than me. I understand you have to attack and criticise, but I think it undermines your criticism if you could just completely flat out slate absolutely everything without acknowledging, you know, what it is at the heart of all of this, which is the drive to protect our most vulnerable against years of austerity. The Children's Social Care, the LGA have come out calling on government, your government, to do something about it. They've known about it for years and they do nothing. This council have brought in implemented changes so that we have some as much as we can for our local planning. And as you know, Councillor Hobson has said, that can obviously be looked into. And you know, the issue about it's about the specific nature. A lot of our children have really extreme needs and need an awful lot of specialist support, and a lot of those have been brought back within with our in-house care provision for them. So don't accept that. And consultants. Well, you know, I'm not exactly sure what the figure is since over the last 12 years of how many staff we have lost from the council, but that means that you do lose an element of that expertise. But you keep talking about all this funding. Well, a lot of the funding that we get actually specifies that the percentage of that funding has to be spent on certain consultants. You have to. So even like down to the master plans that we've had for Revo and Claremont, it is specified in that by Homes England grant funding that you have to utilise consultants. It's an awful lot of funding across the board. Where else was I? I mean, you make vague allegations about mismanagement. I mean, it's just absolute nonsense, and it goes back to my original point that if you, without acknowledging the absolute positives and the impetus and the drive and the ambition, and as I said in the budget speech, I'm not quite sure where you would take the town. And when you talk about vanity projects, what is a vanity project? What are you talking about? Trams, conference centre, new retail. What is vanity about? I really don't understand. It's a phrase that's rolled out repeatedly, which bandied about, and it seems to you feel it attracts some kind of notoriety or impacts upon us. Not at all. We will continue with this regeneration, and we don't talk about investment. It's regeneration, and it's about creating opportunities for our children and our families and our people in the town. Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Brooks, he stole my best line, which was Conservative PCC and Fire Authority up to the max. If you look at Lancashire County Council Conservative, it isn't about being Labour, it's every colour throughout of the council that have had to increase, who have responsibilities for adult social care. And the percentages you talk about, we'll have to agree to differ, but within that is built in an expectation by government that local authorities like this one will increase, and that's what you've based your funds on. Really?
I'm so sorry, Red Card.
I'm just getting going, yeah.
Pass me your notes. Okay. We're just getting into it there, but thank you. We'll just move to vote on the motion, and it is going to be a recorded vote. So again, we'll just work through the councillors in alphabetical order, if you state your intent.
Thank you, Lady Deputy Mayor. Members, recorded vote on the motion in the name of Councillor Lynn Williams. Please could members indicate their answer with either yes, no or abstain. Councillor Baker?
No.
Councillor Benson?
Yes.
Councillor Brooks?
Yes.
Councillor Kane? Councillor Mrs Maxine Callow? No. Councillor Campbell?
Yes.
Councillor Clapham? No. Councillor Debbie Coleman?
No.
Councillor Gary Coleman?
No.
Councillor Collett?
Yes.
Councillor Cox?
No.
Councillor Critchley? Councillor Farrell?
Yes.
Councillor Gully?
No.
Councillor Hobson?
Yes.
Councillor Hugo?
Yes.
Councillor Hunter?
Yes.
Councillor Hutton?
Yes.
Councillor Jackson?
Yes.
Councillor Kirkland? Yes. Councillor Matthews?
Yes.
Councillor Bradley Mitchell?
No.
Councillor Martin Mitchell?
Yes.
Councillor O'Hara?
Yes.
Councillor Owen?
Yes.
Councillor Roberts?
No.
Councillor Robertson?
No.
Councillor Danny Scott?
No.
Councillor Michelle Scott?
No.
Councillor Rick Scott?
No.
Councillor Sloman?
No.
Councillor Smith?
Yes.
Councillor Stansfield?
No.
Councillor Taylor? Councillor Walsh? Councillor Lynn Williams? Councillor Tony Williams?
No.
Councillor Wilshaw? Lady Deputy Mayor?
Yes.
Lady Deputy Mayor, members have voted as follows: 20 for the motion, 18 against, 1 abstention.
Motion carried. We go back to the agenda now, and it's item 8 for the agenda, the appointment of local external auditor. Councillor Williams to move the motion.
Yes, I'm happy to move, Lady Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
And seconded.
No,
Oh,
sorry.
At least you're awake.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. That's very generous. Happy to second it, Deputy Lady Mayor. I just thought I'd provide a little bit of context for this, because this is a decision we'll have to live with for the next 5 years. This is a very restricted marketplace. There are only 9 external auditors currently eligible to apply for this, which means as a council our choice was limited. But in any restricted market, it does mean there are a number of conditions and a number of concerns that raises. The external conditions at the moment are that everybody is quite keen to see that eligibility change slightly to allow more companies to be able to partake in the particular bidding process that currently works. What we're proposing is that we will work with the I always get this confused with the PDSSA. It's the PASS or PSSA. It's one of those. But what that will allow us to do, though, Lady Deputy Mayor, is crucially sign up with the scheme and around 200 other local authorities in which auditor we will be working with. However, one point I would note, the scheme is next up for renewal in 2028. So it might be worth, as if the framework doesn't change in 2027, to put some resource aside as regards looking at other options there, either going alone or working with another local authority as a partner. We will see what the government and the framework allows us to do around 2027, but happy to second.
I think that's PSAA you were looking for before, yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other speakers? No? Stunned into silence? Then we'll move to vote on the motion by a show of hands this time. So, all those in favour? Okay. That's unanimous. Okay, getting too tight. So that concludes the business of the meeting. Thank you, everybody, and good night. Sorry, just a moment.
I just wanted to say thank you, Deputy Lady Mayor, because I know you stood in at the very last minute and have done an excellent job. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.